Have you ever caught a strange smell on your body? One that wasn't there before? Not from your clothes, not from food. Just a quiet, lingering scent coming from your skin. And you can't quite explain it. You may have brushed it off thinking, it's just age. But sometimes it's something more. Today, we're going to talk about the hidden meanings behind body odor after 65 and why certain smells should never be ignored. As we grow older, a lot of things about our body change. That's natural. Our skin becomes thinner, our hormones shift, our diet changes, and even our sense of smell becomes less sensitive. So it's easy to overlook little things, like a faint odor that wasn't there before. But here's the truth. Our body has a way of speaking to us, and sometimes it speaks through scent. These changes aren't always just aging. They can be warning signs, gentle whispers from within, trying to get your attention. Today, I want to walk with you through 5 common smells that can show up after 65, and what they might really mean. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. One ordinary day, you change clothes after a shower, sit down to relax, and suddenly notice a strange scent coming from your body. It's not sweat from heavy work, and it's not from something you ate. It's a faint smell, slightly sour, a little musty, almost like an old towel left in a damp closet or the scent of aged paper in an antique bookshelf. At first, I thought it was my clothes. Maybe they weren't fully dry, or maybe I wore something that had been in the back of the closet too long. But over time, I realized it wasn't the fabric. The smell was coming from my skin. I started digging for answers and learned something surprising. This is actually a common experience for people over 60, and there's even a scientific name for it, nonenal. Nonenal is a naturally occurring compound that forms when unsaturated fatty acids on the skin oxidize, a process that becomes more common as our sebaceous oil glands change with age. When we're younger, our skin produces balanced natural oils that help retain moisture and give our bodies that fresh, youthful scent. But after 50, especially past 60, those oils begin to change. The skin regenerates more slowly, dead skin cells build up, and circulation to the surface layers declines. Eventually, this aging scent develops. Now I know, the phrase old person smell may sound unkind or even embarrassing. But let me say this clearly. It's not because you're dirty. It's not because you're not keeping up with hygiene. It's simply the result of how your body evolves over time. Your body has its own language, and scent is one of the ways it speaks. What's important here isn't just the smell itself. It's what the smell might be trying to tell you. Some experts say this scent can become stronger when the body is dehydrated, low in antioxidants, or experiencing chronic low-level inflammation. A diet high in sugar and processed foods and low in fruits, vegetables, and essential vitamins can make it harder for your skin to renew itself. And that, too, can show up as odor. I remember once chatting with a friend around my age at a community wellness class. She mentioned her husband had developed a strong, musty smell that wouldn't go away, even though he showered every day. After a medical checkup, they found out he had early-stage fatty liver disease and was severely deficient in B vitamins. There were no outward symptoms, no pain, just a change in his scent. And that scent was what led them to catch the issue early and treat it in time. So instead of feeling ashamed or trying to cover it up, try to see that scent as a gentle reminder from your body. If you've noticed a change in your skin smell, ask yourself, have I been drinking enough water? Am I eating enough vegetables, whole grains, and fresh fruits? Am I taking any medications that dry out my skin or affect hormones? Have I been sleeping well or feeling stressed lately? If the scent persists, even with good hygiene, it's okay to speak with your doctor. You might simply be low on a few key nutrients. Or it could be a small warning sign of something worth addressing early. There are also easy things you can do to help your skin naturally. Take warm, not hot, showers to avoid drying the skin. Use gentle pH-balanced soaps instead of harsh cleansers. Lightly exfoliate once a week to remove dead skin buildup. Wear breathable cotton clothing that absorbs moisture and lets the skin breathe. Apply light moisturizers like coconut oil or grapeseed oil to maintain healthy hydration. But above all, don't feel ashamed. This is part of the human journey. Your body has carried you through decades of life, and sometimes it just wants to whisper, I'm still here. I just need you to listen a little more. And if you learn to listen early, you may not only notice a change in scent, but also discover a new, better way to care for yourself in the years ahead. I remember very clearly the first time I noticed something different about my breath. It wasn't bad breath. It didn't smell like food. It was sweet, not in a pleasant way, but in a strange way, like overripe fruit or an old stick of bubble gum that had been left in a drawer too long. At first, I didn't think much of it. I felt healthy. I was eating normally, and I had no other symptoms. But the scent kept coming back. I brushed my teeth thoroughly. I used mouthwash. But that subtle sweetness lingered, faint but persistent, and it didn't seem to go away. Then one day, during a routine checkup, my doctor told me that my blood sugar was higher than normal. I was in the pre-diabetic range. When I mentioned the odd sweetness in my breath, she nodded and said it could actually be an early sign of metabolic imbalance. She told me that many people don't notice it, or they ignore it, until their condition becomes serious. That's when it hit me. My body had been trying to tell me something all along. Here's what I learned. When the body can't process glucose efficiently, it starts breaking down fat for energy instead. In that process, it produces compounds called ketones. One of those ketones, acetone, has a distinctly fruity or sweet smell. And when ketones build up in your blood, they're released through your breath. It's the body's way of saying something isn't working right. In more advanced cases, this can develop into diabetic ketoacidosis, a serious condition that requires urgent care. But in the early stages, it might show up as nothing more than a mild but unusual scent on your breath. If you're not paying attention, it's easy to overlook. What's important to understand is that this doesn't just happen to people with full-blown diabetes. It can happen if you're pre-diabetic or if your body is starting to develop insulin resistance, especially if you've been feeling thirstier than usual, urinating more often at night, feeling fatigued without reason, or noticing cuts and bruises taking longer to heal. I know a lot of people feel embarrassed talking about breath. They worry people will think they're unhygienic. But the truth is, bad breath or sweet breath isn't always about poor dental care. It can come from your liver, your stomach, your lungs, or, like in my case, your metabolism. So if you or someone you love notices an odd, fruity scent in the breath that just won't go away, don't brush it off. Take it as a sign. It might be time to schedule a full health checkup, including fasting blood sugar, post-meal glucose, liver and kidney function tests, and if needed, a ketone test via blood or urine. And remember, diet matters more than we think. If your meals are heavy in refined sugars, pastries, sodas, or white bread, your pancreas is under constant pressure. You may not feel it now, but over time, it adds up. After my own scare, I didn't wait around for things to get worse. I started eating healthier, more vegetables, more fiber, less sugar. I drank more water and began walking every morning. Little by little, things changed, including that odd smell. I no longer ignore the small things, because I've learned that when the body changes its scent, it's never random. It's wisdom. It's a whisper. It's a chance to stop, pay attention, and start fresh. And if you've ever noticed a sweet smell in your breath, I hope you don't ignore it, because maybe, just maybe, that's your body saying, please take care of me before it's too late. Sometimes, the smallest signs are the ones that lead to the biggest turning points. I remember a time when I started noticing a strange smell lingering on my pajamas and the clothes I wore around the house. It wasn't the usual body odor from sweating or physical activity. It was sharper, more pungent, almost like diluted bleach or concentrated urine. At first, I thought maybe I hadn't been drinking enough water, or maybe I ate something salty the night before. But day after day, the smell didn't go away. It was especially noticeable in the mornings. When I changed my clothes or pulled back the sheets, I could smell it clearly on my underwear or the bed sheets. It began to worry me, especially since I've always taken cleanliness seriously. I bathed daily, washed my clothes regularly, and kept up with hygiene. So why wasn't the smell going away? I did some research and eventually visited my doctor. After a few basic tests, I found out that I was starting to develop a mild metabolic imbalance and early signs of kidney function decline. My doctor explained that when the body can't properly process protein or eliminate nitrogen-based waste, a small amount of that waste is released through sweat or urine, often producing a strong ammonia-like smell. It's that sharp, almost chemical scent that's hard to ignore once you've noticed it. In older adults, especially those who eat high-protein diets or take diuretics, this issue can be fairly common, and if left unaddressed, it doesn't just affect how you smell. It can be a sign of something more serious, like chronic kidney disease, urinary tract infections, or even long-term dehydration. Sometimes, the smell doesn't even come directly from the skin. It comes from waste buildup in the body that isn't being filtered out properly. The kidneys, those quiet but vital organs, are responsible for filtering toxins from the blood. But as we age, or if we're dealing with conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes, the kidneys can begin to struggle. And when that happens, the body finds other ways to let us know. One of the first ways is through scent. Something else I learned is that urinary tract infections in older adults often don't cause pain or fever the way they do in younger people. In fact, one of the only signs may be a strong, unusual urine smell, especially first thing in the morning. If you notice this along with frequent urination, burning, or urgency, that's a clear sign to get checked out. There are also situations where this ammonia smell shows up because of what we eat, particularly if we eat too much red meat or protein and not enough vegetables or water. When the liver and kidneys are forced to work overtime to break down excess protein, urea levels in the blood increase, and that gets excreted through sweat and urine, leading to that noticeable chemical-like smell. So if you notice your body or your clothing or bedding carrying a stronger than usual scent, especially one that smells like urine or a faint chemical odor, don't panic. But do pay attention. Start by making a few simple changes. Drink plenty of water, at least 6 to 8 glasses a day, and more if you're on diuretics. Balance your meals. Avoid loading up on large portions of animal protein all at once. Instead, spread it out and add more leafy greens, fruits, and fiber. If you have a history of kidney issues, high blood pressure, or diabetes, make sure to get your kidney function checked regularly. And most importantly, if you sense something's off with your body, don't just try to scrub it away or mask it with fragrance. Ask questions. Talk to your doctor. Listen to your body. Because sometimes a smell isn't just a smell. It's a quiet signal, a reminder from within. Something's not quite right. Please take a closer look. Since adjusting my diet, staying hydrated, and staying on top of my health checkups, that strange odor has slowly faded. I feel better, not just physically, but emotionally too, because I know now that my body is always trying to communicate with me. All I need to do is not ignore its voice. There was a time when I began to notice a stronger, more unpleasant smell coming from my body, even though I kept up with my hygiene. I showered regularly, used scented soap, changed my clothes every day, and washed my clothes carefully. But the smell wouldn't go away. It wasn't the usual sweat after physical activity. It was a sour, pungent scent, almost metallic. Even more unusual, the smell would cling to my clothes, especially under my arms and the back of my shirt. I started to feel uneasy, not just because of the smell, but because I felt like I must be doing something wrong. No matter how much I scrubbed, took hotter showers, or changed my soap, the smell remained. And that's when I realized sometimes there are odors on your body that water and soap can't wash away. These aren't external signs, but internal signals. After seeing a doctor and running some blood tests, I found out I had early-stage fatty liver disease, and my liver function was weakening with age. The doctor explained that when the liver isn't functioning properly, toxins and metabolic byproducts can build up in the body and find their way out through the skin, causing an unpleasant odor. The liver is our silent, hard-working detox system, but when it's overburdened or damaged, the first signs may not be pain or fatigue. They may be in the form of body odor, a persistent, strange smell that is often mistaken for poor hygiene. The doctor also mentioned that digestive disorders, chronic constipation, or imbalanced eating could cause bacteria in the gut to produce more compounds with foul odors, which are then excreted through the skin, especially when sweat glands are active. I realize that everything we eat, drink, and the way we live each day quietly contributes to our body's signature smell. Some people naturally have a pleasant scent without wearing any perfume. Others might have a lingering odor, despite their best efforts at hygiene. That difference isn't just skin deep, it's from within. And the good news is, if we notice these changes in time, we can make adjustments. After that realization, I began changing my eating habits. I cut back on oils, red meat, and fried foods. I added more leafy greens, fresh vegetables, and drank more water, especially incorporating probiotics to aid digestion. I also made a point to go to bed earlier because the liver works best from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., something many people overlook. Within just a few weeks, the strange smell started to fade. My clothes no longer held on to that persistent scent, and I felt lighter, cleaner from the inside out. What really touched me was realizing that my body was still working, still trying to send me messages when something wasn't quite right. That unpleasant odor wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was a gentle reminder from within, take better care of me. If you're going through something similar, where you've showered thoroughly, yet your body still carries an unusual odor, don't just try to cover it up with perfume. Pay attention. Ask yourself, how have I been eating? Am I experiencing digestive issues? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I on any medications that might be affecting my liver or digestion? And if needed, seek medical advice. Because sometimes the smell isn't just from the outside. It's a sign of something deeper within that needs your attention. Our bodies are incredibly intelligent and kind. Sometimes they just need us to slow down and listen. I used to think bad breath was just a normal part of life, something everyone experiences from time to time, maybe after a heavy meal or on a morning when you forget to brush your teeth. But there was a period in my life when I began noticing something different. My breath had developed a lingering, unusual smell. It wasn't food-related, and it wasn't the usual bad breath people talk about. It was subtle but persistent, a metallic or fermented odor that made me feel uneasy. I brushed twice a day. I used floss, rinsed with salt water, even switched to premium toothpaste. But the smell wouldn't go away. Over time, I began feeling self-conscious, especially in close conversations. I still smiled, still carried myself with grace, but inside, I was wondering, why is this smell still here? And the answer turned out to be something I hadn't considered before. Your breath doesn't just reflect your mouth. It reflects what's happening inside your body. After seeing a doctor, I found out I had mild acid reflux and signs of chronic gum inflammation, neither which caused pain or obvious discomfort, but both contributed to the smell. With acid reflux, stomach acids can flow back into the esophagus, bringing with them the scent of partially digested food and stomach contents. With gum disease, bacteria and protein breakdown in the gums can cause an unpleasant odor, even if your teeth appear clean. I realized that all these years I've been focused on brushing my teeth, but had overlooked caring for my gums, my tongue, and yes, even my stomach. Especially after 60, digestion naturally slows, saliva production decreases, and the mouth becomes a friendlier environment for odor-causing bacteria. When there's less saliva, it's harder to wash away bacteria. And that's when the odor starts to build up. Many people assume bad breath is only about surface hygiene, but it's often a quiet message from your digestive system, your mouth, your liver, your lungs, or even the medications you're taking. In fact, several common medications for high blood pressure, allergies, or depression can dry out the mouth, unintentionally creating the perfect conditions for odor to develop. What's unfortunate is that so many people live with bad breath in silence. They're embarrassed. They're afraid of being judged. Or they simply don't realize that it can be a meaningful sign that deserves attention. But I decided not to live that way anymore. I made changes. I began gently scraping my tongue every morning, not just brushing my teeth. I slowed down when I ate and avoided lying down too soon after meals to prevent acid reflux. I switched to warm water instead of cold, and I reduced my intake of coffee and alcohol, both of which dry out the mouth. I added more greens, juicy fruits, and vitamin C to support gum health. Most importantly, I didn't hesitate to ask my doctor when something felt off, because I now understand that even the faintest breath odor is part of the conversation between the body and the mind. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be heard. And if you're experiencing something similar, a persistent breath odor that makes you feel uncomfortable, I hope you won't ignore it. It might be something small, but it could also be the start of something you can catch early if you listen carefully enough. Our bodies are always trying to tell us something, and as long as we're willing to listen, the answers will come gently, quietly, even in the very first breath of a brand new day. I'll tell you this honestly. There was a time I noticed something different about the way I smelled. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something felt off. I ignored it for months, until a routine checkup revealed that I was low on vitamin D, and my blood sugar was starting to creep up. It wasn't dramatic, but my body had tried to tell me before any test ever did. That's why I'm sharing this. Not to scare you, but to remind you that your body is always talking to you. You just have to slow down and listen. So if you've noticed a strange or unusual smell lately, don't ignore it. It doesn't always mean something is wrong, but it's worth paying attention to, because the sooner you notice, the sooner you can act. And that can make all the difference. Growing older doesn't mean losing awareness of ourselves. It means learning to listen to our body in new, more thoughtful ways. If this video helped you look at your health a little differently, please click the like button. It helps more people see this message. Leave a comment below. Have you ever noticed a change in body smell? What did it mean for you? Your story could help someone else. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt, practical advice for aging well, because your story matters, and you deserve to live in full, healthy color.